Greetings, this is Canon Lowe, and after spending quite a bit of time at this point making Arknights story clips, the question that is bound to come up is, how did I find this tower defense anime art style game that many of us enjoy? And the first thing that I do want to mention is that of my gaming background. So, I've played games growing up regarding Ratchet & Clank, Half-Life, Call of Duty, World of Tanks, and Path of Exile, and many others, but these are the major ones that come to my mind when I think of the games that I grew up with. And needless to say, tower defense as a genre was never really something that appealed to me. And with this, I am quite a bit of a variety gamer. Like, I don't really stick to one genre or picking PC necessarily over console. So my only experience with tower defense before Arknights was Plants vs. Zombies, the original one that was put on phones. So my story goes back to 2019, and what happened is that in spring of 2019, I had a medical incident where in spring of 2019 that year, I was working at a manufacturing job. It was my first really career sort of job that I had been working towards, and before then, my only other job was working at a temp agency at a warehouse. So, me doing manufacturing, of course, I'm standing and doing physical stuff all day for many hours a day. So, with that medical incident, I had a blood clot form in my left leg. And before that time, me and my parents never knew that I had any major health complications at all. And with that blood clot, I also found out more medical conditions that I have that I never would have known without that. And so through the second half of 2019, for most of that time, I was unable to walk, or at the very least, unable to walk without support from a cane or something like that. And so, because of that incident, I was no longer able to work at my manufacturing job. So, I was unable to work at all, and up until this day, because of the medical complications that I have not gone back into the workforce at this time. So, with that being said, early 2020, I have played a free game on Steam called Eternal Senia, and it is a RPG Maker game that is a story-driven game, as you can see on the right, of usually using the visual novel story dialogue text boxes, with the gameplay seen in the background there. So, pretty typical RPG Maker stuff, and I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was a very chill game to play, and it was fun and relaxing. So, hearing that the developers of Eternal Senia decided to make a sequel, it was called Eternal Senia Hydrangea After the Rain, something like that. And this was pretty much one of my very first major mobile games that I have played for an extended period of time, and it is effectively a visual novel that was made into a clicker game with gacha mechanics. So pretty much I went into this game pretty much completely only for the story. While the gameplay was pretty good for what it was, the story was my main drive of playing it. So, with that being said, my impressions of mobile games, I think, is pretty typical of someone who hasn't played a lot of mobile games at this point in time in early 2020, where mobile games have kind of this reputation, especially with as gacha is concerned, that many of them are very predatory and usually very low quality at the time. So again, I haven't played many mobile games at this point in time, but that was my impression. And then a lot of anime style games as well, they have a reputation of overly sexualizing their characters. It's pretty much my main pet peeve of anime in general, is having what the West calls fan service way too often or way too much in any anime. And that will come into play later. So, with Eternal Senia 2, effectively, they had a way to get their premium currency through watching advertisements. So, that means that I got to watch plenty of Arknights advertisements. So, with getting the premium currency, you pretty much can watch like 2 or 3 ads every day in order to get more of the gacha for that game. And pretty much for the advertisements, I was getting probably over 75% of my ads were Arknights. Like, needless to say, they were very persistent in their advertising. And they pretty much gave me absolutely no reason to ever try the game. And with what I said about anime in general, a lot of the advertisements, they either did not give me any information about what the game is or what it is about, or they would show just a streamer showing off the gacha, which typically for gacha in general, that's a red flag for me. And then also the fan service that I was talking about before, where there were plenty of Arknights ads that really want to showcase like the swimsuits, summer skins of the characters, so that having that as an initial impressions through an advertisement that did not want me to play the game and actually would have veered me away from it. So let me give you a few examples here. For the gameplay of the game, I'm not actually going to show any of the footage of those old Arknights advertisements. If you want to search you can easily search them on YouTube, and there's plenty there. But one of the examples of showing off gameplay was that they showed like AF Yala or Schwartz, I do believe, was also on this tile, 2 separate ads, and they would show like the difference between a level 1 and a level 90. And my first thoughts when I would get ads like that is like, that's what every game does with a level system, is that when you level up a character, they usually get stronger. So them showing off like, oh, a level 1 AFL, like having leaks or Schwartz, and then a level 90, of course, defeats all the enemies, just left me confused, and especially like for the gotcha advertisements is when they showed a streamer. It's like, why should I care if somebody gets the highest rarity character, like, without any context of anything for the game? I mean, I guess if they're trying to, like, show off the art of the characters, that might have been one thing, but for me, I was pretty indifferent to those. So, all that being said, the advertisements were terrible for the game, and like I said before, they either gave me absolutely no idea what the game was, no reason to ever try it out, and in some cases actually veered me away from the game based on what they wanted to put forth. So with all of that, it might sound like from what I'm saying that how in the world did I get into Arknights then? If the advertisements didn't work, what got me into this game? And I'm not entirely sure what happened in terms of whether I searched it up on YouTube or if it was recommended to me through YouTube. Either way, I got to watch videos with the music from the game. So, as the memes go, that there's, you know, the common saying that Hypergriff is a music company, not a game company, and I really got into the music from the game, and I listened to some of the background music that you would typically hear in the various different story cutscenes and whatnot, and I was very amazed on how good the music was. And I really thought to myself, how could a game that has this bad of advertising have this good of music in it? Like, even just the early stages, like, just, you know, the dialogue background music for the early game was just so good. And let me show you some examples. So here are a few samples of just the menu music for Arknights that you can now choose from the main title, with the addition of dusk staring at you. So here is the completely original menu music before they added the option to change the menu. And here are some more samples of the music. So after hearing the music, I would actually commonly have it in the background of when I'm playing other games at the time. And the funny thing is that the music isn't... Well, after hearing the music, I did not give the game a shot at this point. Just yet. So, after hearing the music, I was like, wow, this is some really good music. I'll have this as hear this while I'm playing other games, and I was perfectly content with having knowledge of the game purely for its music and having that as part of the background. But what happened is that Arknights, that advertising, they just had to advertise the event Code of Brawl. And in that advertisement, they had offered the free 5-star operator Bison, the Defender. And I was thinking to myself, with this game, with this music, how bad could it possibly be? Let's just give it a shot, since the sheer persistence of these advertisements, fine. Arknights, I'll give you a chance. And, well, I am still playing it today. But after I joined, I didn't get high enough account level, or far enough in the story to unlock Code of Brawl while it was originally going, so I did not get Bison. And the funny thing is that at the time when I found out that Bison was limited to that event, I was actually pretty annoyed that Arknights would have operators that you couldn't obtain later. So thankfully, with the record restoration stuff that they're doing now, that has pretty much solved that critique. But with me joining the game, my first impressions is that I was very surprised on how serious the game took its story with the setting of the game. And I really liked the world building that Arknights did. And with that, though, I was never really all that interested at the beginning of the game of what the main characters were actually doing. And it didn't really help that I was given the impression that the main characters, even though that they were saving the Doctor and were having conflicts with Reunion and everything, it seemed like they were more interested in explaining the world rather than, escaping their current dilemma. And of course, this being 2 years, I don't actually remember if that was actually the case, but that was my first impressions of the main plot, was that I never really got into the main story until probably chapter 4 or chapter 5 onwards. And then for the gameplay, I actually don't remember what my first impressions of the gameplay was. I probably thought it was pretty decent for what it was, but I don't distinctly remember really how much I liked it. Because with that medical injury prior and not working, I was pretty much going through the motions of, well, this is something new, I'll play it, just to see where it goes. And so I really don't remember, and that was something that I did mention in my Q&A video, was that one of the YouTube channels that I watched, I really enjoyed from seeing their impressions of the beginning of the game for the gameplay, because that point in time was really a blur for me. So overall, I am really glad that I stuck with it, because I did really enjoy the story later on. And I think the gameplay event that really got me into the gameplay itself was the Twilight of Waldemode, or however you say that, event with the various towers and everything that or gamma phones you have to capture, and that was just such a unique twist in my mind at the time, where I was like, oh, well, this game is trying to do all of these, new things with what they have. And also I was getting to the later chapters where they had more variety of enemies and stuff, that I was really able to get into that. So, as a summary, I played Eternal Senia 2 because I liked the first game that was free on Steam, and the second one was on mobile. That mobile has you get advertisements in order to get their premium gacha currency, and I kept getting Arknights advertisements, didn't give me any reason to play the game, and the music was what got me to appreciate, at least give the game a chance. And then that advertisement about the free operator is what finally got me to install the game and try it out. And at this point, I don't see myself stop playing this game anytime soon. So, with the aftermath of that, I created the YouTube channel Canon Lowy Arknights. And the reason why it's called Canon Lowy Arknights is because I actually have a different YouTube channel just called Canon Lowy, and that used to be my Let's Play channel. And I'll probably make a dedicated video on that at some point. But I made this channel specifically for Arknights, and that was because I wanted to make a YouTube channel dedicated to one game, and I saw Arknights as the game that I knew I was going to play for a long time. And after a long time, I did not know what kind of content I wanted to make. I pretty much did whatever I felt like, for lack of a better phrase, and eventually I got to this. So these are kind of the two big videos that I have done in the past that I look fondly of. The NPC Ask Howsit an Important Question, and then Chapter 9, Jessica Looks Amazing. And then from that point onward, we finished Near Light, as well as the Mansfield Break rerun. So I did story clips for both of those major... Well, I guess Mansfield Break isn't so major, but Near Light and Mansfield Break as playable side stories with their own stages. So yeah, that brings us here today, where I am continuing to make the story clips that I have been, because all of you enjoy it, and I love the interaction that I can have with you guys, and the community for Arknights has been more incredible than I could have ever imagined when I decided to do these, and I'm really thankful for the support on me figuring things out and the various different clips that I make. So with that, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my journey through finding Arknights, and stay sane, doctors.